I took a run at a burn down chart. It's not pretty. The way things are going, we're not going to finish for 5 months. And even with everyone on reduced salaries, we'll exhaust all our funding in 4, and that's without wasting $10,000 on artwork. This is exactly why we need to have clear lines of communication.
I know, Jared, I know.
Listen, I'd like to institute an organizational system called Scrum.
Dude, relax, okay? We each ripped through a full module this morning. We're just taking a little break. DRM is now a thing of beauty.
Wait, you did DRM?
Yeah?
I did DRM.
Why did you do DRM? I said I would do DRM, you would do error handling.
Anything to do with errors sounds like your whole vibe.
Yeah, I handle errors
Scrum?
like you every day.
Yes, Scrum.
Scrum. So, from rules-based filtering, we go to workflow, at which point that card is moved from the icebox into the in-progress column, and it stays there until it is ready for testing. Okay, this increases visibility into our team's progress. And that, gentlemen, is Scrum. Welcome to the next 8 weeks of our lives.
This just became a job.
Okay, so here are the cards I'm adding under this epic for the ingestion engine. And there are 3 stories here. How long do we think each one will take?
I don't know, who cares? 4 hours apiece?
Yeah, maybe for you. Each one of those tasks would take me 3 max.
Not tasks, stories.
I've got a story. Why don't you choke on my balls?
Well, how about this? Why don't you each take one story, right? Okay. And we'll see who's right.
You see what he's doing, right? He's trying to get us to compete so we work faster. He thinks this wall of Psych 101 MBA mind control bullshit is going to motivate us.
Fine, don't compete. Do them at whatever speed you like.
Jared. I know these guys. I really don't think Scrum is gonna work for them.
Okay, well, just trust in the system.
So we're gonna work at a nice leisurely pace, right?
Sure.
But why are you tapping faster?
I'm not. Maybe my leisurely pace is just a little faster than yours.
Cocksucker.
Huh. Oh, booyah.
Let's review this 2.5-minute clip and discuss Scrum in context. In the start, Jared uses a release burndown chart to measure how much work is left. Each tick mark is a week, which usually indicates a sprint boundary. Jared probably used weeks to provide visibility without having to explain Scrum. Jared says to Richard, "I'd like to institute an organizational system called Scrum." Scrum is a process framework used to manage complex product development. Dinesh and Guilfoyle, the developers, proved that they act as individuals because they discovered they were working on the same work item, digital rights management, which is a huge cost and burden. This is the scene's problem statement. At some level, it seems inconceivable that this could happen in such a small environment, and yet it does. Think what can happen in a large organization. Scrum improves the lives of those creating and managing products by providing the transparency needed without huge overhead costs. Task boards are great information radiators. Jared has built a task board to manage the work of the team. Jared explains, the card is moved from the icebox to the in-progress column. Icebox is another term for the product backlog that Scrum uses and originates from extreme programming, or XP. Items in an icebox usually mean it is low priority. However, that's not how it is used here. Jared further describes the flow or work by demonstrating the movement of cards on the wall. This card stays here until it's ready for testing. For a small team, managing a testing phase, even on this small item, is probably too much overhead. Scrum teams are small, 3 to 9 people, cross-functional, dedicated, stable, and persistent. They need to be able to do all the work necessary to complete potentially releasable functionality. Jared states, this increases visibility. Transparency is a key component of the empirical process control system Scrum uses. Transparency allows people to inspect and adapt to current reality so we can all remain aligned even if plans change. Equipping people to handle the brutal truth transparency creates requires organizational maturity. Scrum. Is that all? What we just learned? Jared declares, and that, gentlemen, is Scrum. Well, no, it isn't. Using a task board is great for co-located teams, and there are elements of Scrum in that 11-second explanation from this clip. However, the Scrum Guide is the definitive source. Techniques like a task board help implement Scrum effectively. Guilfoyle responds, "This just became a job," as he hears Jared's explanation of Scrum. This happens when moving from an environment without process, even though Scrum is fairly lightweight, especially compared to traditional control processes. Jared continues, "Here are the cards under the epic, and there are 3 stories. How long do we think each one will take?" Scrum uses a definition of done to make sure we are clear what it will take to complete an item. We communicate small pieces of work as done or not done. Any other partially complete answer is riddled with risk. Guilfoyle goads Dinesh when he talks about estimates. "Yeah, maybe for you. Each one of those tasks would take me 3 hours max." This kind of competitive behavior can be healthy if in the context of team camaraderie. In this case, there is a bit too much individualism. Makes for good television, but not good reality. Jared corrects Guilfoyle by declaring, not tasks, stories. Stories have business value even if it is subjective. Tasks are pieces of work that do not stand alone from other tasks. Some teams find value planning with discrete tasks. However, in this show, the engineers are very good and likely do not need tasks because they can deliver small pieces of value instead. Is there a rat? Jared follows along. Why don't each of you take one story and we'll see who is right, 3 or 4 hours. There is a subtle thing here. Jared is putting small amounts of work in progress, which is great. Each person is working on only one thing. In Scrum, many folks pair together and work towards completing one and then the other item, which adds quality to the system in a way that pays you back over time. However, Dinesh smells a rat and says, he's trying to get us to compete so we work faster. He thinks that this wall of Psych 101 MBA mind control BS is going to motivate us. This is not the first time I've heard this. People have learned not to trust the others very much. Scrum says the team determines their own plan. In this case, Jared is simplifying the developer's first experience to a single small piece of work. Jared responds to Dinesh's attack by saying, "Fine, do them at whatever speed you like." Meanwhile, Richard takes Jared aside stating, "I know these guys. I really don't think Scrum will work for them." Jared responds, "Trust in the system." The 2 developers, Dinesh and Guilfoyle, start working, still somewhat competitively, but more as a team, and each knows what the other person is working on. Jared raises his arm and explains, "Booyah!" which is a celebration. This simple Scrum framework has been implemented in lots of places, and now Scrum has gone to Hollywood.